The Other Man. I was a writer. I wrote books. I can still write, but you can't hear me and you can't see me. In January, I wanted to write a very long book, so I left my home and I found a little room. This is a good room for a writer, I thought. I'll write my book here. It was a little room, but I liked it. It was very quiet. I began to work on my book and I was happy. Then things began to happen, strange things. One day I was at my desk with my pen in my hand. Suddenly I thought, oh dear, I want a cigarette and I haven't got any. I'll have to go to the shop. I put my pen on the table and went out. I came back and looked for the pen. It wasn't on the table. I looked on the floor, on my chair, and then on the table again. It just wasn't there. I don't understand it, I thought. Another strange thing happened that night. I was in bed and the room was very quiet. Suddenly I opened my eyes. What was that? I said softly. Then I heard a voice, a man's voice. Who's there? I cried. There wasn't an answer and there wasn't a man in the room. I didn't understand that, and I was frightened. What shall I do? I thought. What is it? After that, strange things happened every day. What must I do? I thought. I didn't know. But I still had to finish my book, so I decided to stay. The room was very small. There were not many things in it, just a bed, a table, and a chair. And there was a mirror on the wall. It was a very old mirror and I liked it. And then, one day, I looked in the mirror and I saw him. The other man. It wasn't me. This man had a beard and I never had a beard. I was very frightened. I shut my eyes and looked again. This time, I saw my own face in the mirror. It didn't happen, I thought. I imagined it. There wasn't another man. I went for a walk that day and didn't work on my book. I just didn't want to be in the room. I didn't want to imagine things. At night, I went home. The room was very quiet. I looked in the mirror and saw only my own face. But I wasn't happy. I went to bed, but I couldn't sleep. I'll leave the room tomorrow, I decided. And after that I slept. But I had a strange dream. I imagined a strange thing. The other man stood at my bed and spoke to me. You will never leave here, he said. You will stay with me always. And then I opened my eyes. I was very cold and frightened. I must leave now, I thought. I can't stay here. I was cold and sick, but I put my things in a case. I wanted to go that day. I couldn't forget the dream, and so I was afraid. But afraid of what? I didn't know. The case was soon full of clothes. I'll leave the room now, I thought. I looked at the room and I also looked in the mirror again. And then I was very cold and very frightened. I didn't see the other man in the mirror. Why? Because he wasn't there. But I didn't see my own face in the mirror. The mirror was empty. I tried to cry out, but there wasn't a sound. I hadn't a voice. And then I did see him. I saw the other man, the man with the beard. He sat at the table with my pen in his hand. He wrote my book with my pen. I was angry and I tried to speak, but I couldn't. Why? Because I hadn't a voice. The other man didn't speak, but he smiled and wrote. Suddenly, there was a sound at the door and I heard a friend's voice. Are you there? My friend asked. I want to see you. I was very happy then. My friend will help me, I thought. I couldn't move, but the other man went to the door and opened it. Come in, he said to my friend. Come and see my room. I'm writing my book. My friend came into the room, but he didn't see me. He only smiled at the other man. My friend said, Oh, you have a beard now. Again and again I tried to speak, but I couldn't. My friend didn't see me, didn't hear me. He only saw the other man. That is my story. The other man has taken my room, and he has also taken my body and my voice. He will finish my book as well. Who can help me now? But the other man doesn't know one thing. I can't speak, but I can write. I can tell my story. and I have just told it to you. The charm. He's a brave man, people say about me. He just doesn't know fear. They are wrong. I haven't always been a brave man, and I have known fear. Terrible fear. I am an important man now. I have an important job, and people know me and like me. I am one of my country's heroes. I wasn't always a hero, but people don't know that. I'll tell you the story. I was a very shy young man. I didn't like to talk to other young men. I was afraid. They'll laugh at me, I thought. Women were worse. I never spoke to them. I was always afraid and shy with them. I try to help shy people now, and I never laugh at them. I remember that time. I was very unhappy then. Then there was a terrible war between my country and another country. I had to be a soldier. Me! I was always afraid, but I had to be a soldier. The other soldiers didn't talk about it, but they knew. They knew about my fear. They're laughing at me, I thought. They don't have any fear. They aren't afraid. I was wrong, but I didn't know that. My terrible fear grew worse. One day, I was in the town. I wasn't with friends. I didn't have any friends, and I was very unhappy. I walked slowly along a road. An old man stood at the side of the road. There were some cars on the road, but not many. Why doesn't he go across the road? I thought. Is he afraid? I went nearer, and then I saw his eyes. Oh, I thought. Now I know. He can't see. He wants to go across, but he needs help. The other people walked quickly along. They had to go to work, or to their homes, or to one place or another. They didn't help him. They didn't have time. But I had time, a lot of time. I'm not going to any place, I thought. Why can't I help him? I mustn't be shy with him. I took the old man's arm and I helped him across the road. Thank you. His hand touched my coat. This is a soldier's coat, he said. Are you a soldier? Yes. Perhaps I said it in a sad voice. The old man put a hand in his pocket. He took a small thing out and gave it to me. Take this, he said. It'll help you. Wear it, and you'll be all right. Perhaps you need it now, but you won't always need it. He went then, and I looked at the thing in my hand. It was a gold chain with a small charm on it. It's a girl's thing, I thought, and I put it in my pocket. They sent us to the battle line the next day. I was afraid, terribly afraid, but I remembered the gold chain in my pocket. Perhaps the charm will help me, I thought, and I put it round my neck. Suddenly I wasn't afraid. Why? I didn't know. Was it the charm round my neck? It was a terrible battle that day. Men died all round me. Perhaps I'll die next, I thought. But I wasn't afraid. Our captain was a brave man. He was out in front of us and we followed him. Suddenly, he was down. He lay on the ground and didn't move. The other soldiers stopped. They were afraid and didn't go on. The fire from the enemy was terrible and the bullets flew all round us. I thought, perhaps the captain isn't dead. I must go and see. I went out to him. The enemy fire grew worse, but I wasn't afraid. The bullets can't hit me, I thought. I've got the charm round my neck. I'll be all right. I brought our captain back to a good place, and then I looked at him. He was very white, and there was a lot of blood on his coat. But he wasn't dead. His eyes opened, and he smiled at me. He spoke, not easily, but I heard him. You go in front, he said. The men will follow you. The men followed me, and we did well that day. After that, I was a hero. Soon, I was a captain too. The men were happy and followed me into battle. People didn't laugh at me then. But is it right? I thought. I'm not really brave. It's only the charm. I didn't tell people that. I had friends for the first time and I was happy. One day, an order came. My men must take an important bridge. The enemy held it. There were a lot of them and they had big guns. We had to go across open land without any trees. It was a terrible order and my men were afraid. We're going to die, they said. Listen, I told them. I'll go first, and we must run very quickly to the bridge. Don't be afraid. They can't hit all of us. Follow me, and we'll take that bridge. You'll be heroes." I put my hand to my neck. The charm on its gold chain was always there. But now, it wasn't there. Lost. "I'm going to be afraid," I thought. "I can't be brave without the charm. What can I do?" I looked at my men. There wasn't any fear in their faces. I thought, my words have helped them. They aren't afraid now. They're waiting for me, their captain, and they'll follow me without fear. I'm their hero, and I mustn't show fear. I gave the order, "Forward." We ran. We got to the bridge. We lost some men, but we got there, and we took the bridge. I have always remembered that day. I learnt one thing then. What is a brave man? Is a brave man never afraid? No. A brave man knows fear, but he goes forward. I remember that old man too, the man with the charm. "Perhaps you need it now," he said, "but you won't always need it." He was right. I learnt to be brave without it. That all happened a long time ago. The war ended years ago. I was a young man then, and now I am old. I'm a brave man, people think. Yes, they're right. I am.